Hi, this is Jason Nickleby, Assistant Director with the Minnesota State High School League, and this is basketball officiating training tape number 7. Again, doing a nice job out there with all of the items that we've talked about to this point, but certainly want to stay the course, especially as it relates to managing behaviors on the bench and on the floor. Make sure we use all of our tools. But at the end of the day, if it gets to the point where it's too much, we need to assess warnings and technical fouls and move forward from there. Hopefully, after a warning, those behaviors stop, but we need to take care of business on that, especially our veteran officials and as we move into the postseason. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward. And again, when we're looking at these plays, not picking on any one official or crew or player or team, just trying to learn from these and again, use these to start a discussion with our pre-games before each game. So with that, let's take a look at some plays. Okay, in this first one, let's take a look at front court mechanics and then just talk about working through judgment pieces and processing for faking being fouled or flopping. So we're in good position in the front court. We have our positioning as lead, one step off the lane line, center free throw line extended, trail at the 28-foot mark. So we're in good shape as far as our positioning is concerned, and we're all concentrating on our areas of responsibility. So good job in that aspect. Then when it comes to flopping, and we talked about it in the memo this week as well. Started off pretty well with this, but have kind of regressed a little bit, which happens with certain rules where we kind of lose our focus or our attention to it, and it kind of slips. So just a reminder that if a player clearly fakes being fouls, flops, falls over for no reason, we need to assess a flop warning. In this case, you have a defensive player that there's some marginal contact, but it really shouldn't result in this player hitting the floor. And so, in my mind, this is enough for a flop warning. Now, when the defense does it, we're going to allow it to play out. We're going to let the shot continue. We're not going to blow the whistle right away, but we will make the flop warning signal or the flop signal. So we will make it at that time. Then you see here that we have a missed shot and the offense gets the rebound. If the offense goes back up with it, we're going to let them do that. If the offense takes the ball and dribbles it back out towards the three-point line, we're going to stop the game at that point and assess the flop warning. If it is a technical foul because it is the second flop by that team in the game, then we would assess a team technical foul in that case. But in this case, looks like the defensive player, due to very marginal contact, just falls over to the ground trying to draw a foul call by the officials. And to me, this is enough for a flop warning to be assessed against the defensive team. And again, don't kill it right away. Make the flop signal, and then when the offense stops making progress towards their basket or the defense gets the rebound, we would stop the game and assess the flop warning at that time, or the technical if it's the second and subsequent offense by that team. Again, it's not charged to an individual, it's charged to the team. If the offense does it, which doesn't happen here, but if the offense does it, we're going to let the shot continue. As soon as we get a rebound or the basket is successful, we will stop the game at that point and assess the flop warning or the technical. We don't want the offense or either team for that matter to gain an advantage by us stopping the game for a flop that would either determine possession with the arrow or potentially, wipe a shot out by the offense when the defense flops. So just keep those pieces in mind, that we're going to let the sequence play out. until we get a rebound. And if it's a defensive flop, when the offense stops making progress towards the basket or we have a successful goal, we'll stop it at that point. And if it's by the offense, as soon as we get a rebound or the goal is successful, we will stop it at that point to assess the warning. If no shot attempt is imminent by the offense and they're the ones, or either way, we have a flop by either one, we would stop it at that point. So just review flop warning language in those pieces. As we get into the postseason, we don't want to let it turn into um, just kind of a free-for-all relative to flopping. We don't see it a ton, doesn't happen every game, but when we have situations like the one in this set of plays, this sequence here, we would certainly want a flop warning assessed in that case. Okay, and this one I want to talk about restricted area blocking fouls, mechanics, and considerations. Um, as mentioned in the memo, a reminder that on pass and crash situations, the restricted area rules still apply. So if we have a pass and crash and they try to take a charge in the restricted area, that is a restricted area blocking foul. So just a reminder on that. But in this case, remember, secondary defender contact in the paint, the primary ruling official for that is the lead. And we do a good job of allowing the lead to have this play and be the primary ruling official. And we're very decisive, use very good mechanics, which is all great. Only problem, this is not an offensive foul. This is a restricted area blocking foul. We don't establish legal guarding position, that initial legal guarding position, until we are on or over the restricted area. And at the time of contact, the secondary defender is grounded. So you see that the defender slides over to establish legal guarding position and doesn't quite get to the point where 2 feet are on the ground facing the opponent until that right heel is on or over the restricted area. And remember, if we are grounded and we're on or over the restricted area and contact is made with that defender who establishes that initial legal guarding position in the restricted area, is guilty of a restricted area blocking foul. So these are tough plays. I understand, but we need to pick up the defender, establish if they or see if they establish initial legal guarding position outside the restricted area, or they do it in the restricted area and they rise vertically to block the shot. In that case, we're going to officiate like the arc isn't there. But in this case, doesn't establish legal guarding position until we are on or over the restricted area. Contact is made with the grounded secondary defender. So this should be a restricted area blocking foul. And centers, we should come with information on this. Let the lead know that the secondary defender is in the restricted area, and then the calling official, the lead, is going to change the call at the spot to a restricted area blocking foul. Remember, we talked about this in other plays. We don't change it at the table, we change it at the spot, and then we bring it to the table with the same spot mechanics that we just used to indicate that we have a restricted area blocking foul. So you have to come with a number. You can't just come in and say, she's in the arc and leave. You have to tell the lead, defender number 24 was in the arc, and then we're going to change it to a restricted area blocking foul and proceed with 2 shots. So like the positioning, love the decisiveness and our mechanics. Only thing is, this is a restricted area blocking foul, and we should try to get these more accurate as we move forward. Okay, transition play here. We get down in good initial position, and we're going to have a drive down the paint with an offensive foul called by the lead. So really tight call. Again, in the paint, if we have secondary defenders, it's going to be the lead's responsibility. In this case, she's not secondary by rule because it's not an odd player break. So this is a primary defender matchup, so we'll draw a line right down the middle of the paint, but it's basically in the middle, so we should defer to the lead on this play. Again, love our positioning, really, really like our mechanics, signal the foul and signal the offensive foul. And remember, we can do a punch like we've done the last several years, or put a hand behind our head and indicate that with an offensive foul as well as from a mechanics standpoint. So that's all good. I'm totally fine with an offensive foul. Here, I think she establishes legal guarding position and then maintains it legally prior to contact, and the offensive player plays through her torso for an offensive foul. So totally good with that. Only thing here to keep in mind is um, keep an eye on that player coming down from behind. I think the offensive foul occurs first, but it's certainly possible that what could have happened is that player who's coming down the court from behind could play through the offensive player's back and into the defender who takes the charge, in which case we would have a um, foul on that other defender and not an offensive foul, and we would shoot two shots. But in this case, I think the contact in the chest is either first or at the very least simultaneous, which means we'd have an offensive foul. So I think this is well done, well handled, good mechanics and judgment. Just some considerations to have when it comes to block charge. Okay, in this one, we're going to have a ball that's kicked out to a three-point shooter, and we are in good position to view. Again, we want to take shooters all the way up, all the way down, make sure they have an opportunity to land. And in this case, it appears that the shooter who doesn't jump forward, she jumps straight up and down, A to A, subsequently uh, has knee-to-knee contact with the defender into the shooter. So I have this as a correct call, a three-shot foul, and we're in good position. The only thing, again, to consider is if we're looking through the back of a player, we want to move so we can see that. But in this case, because we're at the 28-foot line, I think we're in excellent position to see this, and we make an accurate call and stick with the shooter all the way and use good spot mechanics. Now, as we've talked about before, only other thing to consider as well is use a signal that indicates what happened. Push, sort of works. Maybe a blocking foul is better. Maybe the walked into signal is better to indicate what happens. Push is okay, but she just doesn't really use her hands, in this case. So that's being really picky, but just a reminder to use a signal that matches what happened on the court, just to increase our credibility, just because no one's really going to see this except for the calling official. And in this case, I think we're in excellent position and we make a quality decision. Okay, in this one, we're in transition. We basically have a 2-on-2, so this is a primary defender matchup, not a secondary defender by rules. So remember, from a coverage standpoint, we need to draw a line right down the middle of the paint, and anything to the center side is going to be the center's responsibility. But you see in this case that the lead calls this foul all the way across the paint, and in my estimation is not a correct call. And we've talked about this a number of times on these tapes that when we call out of area, we typically are not correct a very high percentage of the time. The center's right there. Let the center live and die with this one. As the lead, we need to stay out of this because if anything, if we want to call a foul, maybe we need to call it on the offense for putting an elbow into the chin of the defender who's moving side to side with their hands straight in the air, and we call a foul because it looks bad from across the paint and we're not accurate. So we're in great position. Love the hustle, all that, but this is the center's play. We need to stay off of this and let the center take it. Um, Again, calling out an area, typically percentage wise, we're not correct a very high percentage of the time. And we just need to live and die with the center. And if they call it, great. If they don't, great. As the lead, just not our play. So that's the moral of the story here is, stick to our primary, trust our partner, call the stuff in your area and let your partner call the stuff in theirs. And we're looking for muskies in our own pond and not perches and others. Okay, transition play again. All these players are primary, not a secondary defender out there by rule. So again, we're going to draw a line right down the middle of the paint relative to responsibility for ruling on this. And it appears that it comes down that lane line in the leads area of responsibility, who is in good position. We're stationary. Uh, Again, to good position to view this action. Um, my only piece on this is pick up the defender, see if they maintain or establish legal guardian position first and then maintain it legally. And then if there's enough displacement contact, then we need to have an offensive foul. In this case, it looks like the defender establishes legal guarding position, but the contact by the offensive player is as she's going into her spin dribble, spin move there towards the basket, and she hits the deck. So um, I'm good with a no call here, but if there's enough displacement contact on a legal defender, we need to call an offensive foul. And if we're not in legal position and there's this much contact, most of the time we probably should have a defensive foul. So when we have a lot of contact, there better be a reason to no call it and why it's incidental. Otherwise, we should just pick one, offense or defense, pick a foul, and let's move forward from there because that just keeps our games under control when there's a lot of contact and we put air in the whistle. But in this particular case, I think the contact is incidental and a no call is appropriate, but just keep those things in mind when we have significant contact, especially on shooters. Several really good things on this play. First, we don't anticipate a foul. Um, at the initial part of this play. We allow it to play out with a no call, which is a good decision. We're in good position in the front court. And then when we have this quick turnover, again, they're 18, we're not. We're going to get beat back. So we're going to play the percentages and officiate where we need to in the front court, which we do a great job of. And then we hustle down to get in position, knowing that we're going to get beat. And the best part about this, from a mechanic standpoint, in my mind, is that the new lead knows he's not going to make it, so he stops right at the free throw line extended and takes this play from what would be the center position. So this is excellent mechanics. Very good job of realizing you're not going to make it and coming to a stop and then adjusting to become the new trail. So good judgment to not have a foul here, and then excellent mechanics on the way back to stop at the free throw line extended and to take this play from the center position and then adjust to the new trail. So outstanding job by the crew in this play. Great mechanics and judgment. Okay, in this one, we're going to have a dribble drive right down the lane line, and the secondary defender reaches in there and grabs a hold of the wrist. And you'll see that here on this replay. And just a good example of sticking with the shooter, the primary ruling official being the one to pick this up and giving two shots. As you see, gathers the basketball and is attempting to shoot, and the ball never really gets out of his hand. It kind of goes off to the side. And we do a nice job of giving free throws here. Um, we sometimes have the tendency to, if they never get the ball out of their hands, like they do a pump fake and the defender lands on them, and we have a throw in, and we just need to do a better job of giving shots, and that's what we do here. Definitely a shooting foul, definitely a foul. Yeah, we get it. Primary ruling official is the lead who picks it up, and again, we give 2 shots. So nice job, good spot mechanics, good job of communicating that and picking this up. Okay, in this one, we're going to have a pick six. And these are just really, really tough. Again, these kids are 18, we're not, and they're going to beat us back. So we just do the best we can to get in the best possible position to see what we need to see. And just do a really nice job here of understanding that we're not going to get to the end line on time. So we need to come in and take it from the center position, or in this case, kind of the old button hook mechanic coming in from behind, um, which is fine. Again, we're stationary. We're in good position to see what we need to see, which is great. The only challenge that comes with using this mechanic is that if the shot is unsuccessful, gets blocked or something, now we're kind of right there in the middle of players. So that's the only thing I would caution on using this mechanic, is that, you know, be careful about not getting run over and getting in the way, but ultimately, really good hustle, good position, nice that we're stationary, and then we transition to the new trail to start the next series of plays. So excellent job by the crew here, great hustle, mechanics, and coverage. Okay, we've talked about the concept of A to B versus A to A relative to um, block shot attempts. So in this case, you're going to see that the um, dribbler heads to the basket, and the secondary defender is going to come over and attempt a block shot. And again, secondary defender involved contact. The primary ruling official for that in the paint is the lead. So that's who calls the foul here. I'm good with that. The only thing that I want to just point out on this play is we need to pick up the defender and see if they get to a spot and then rise vertically and come down in the same or relatively the same spot. If not, and they have contact and play through the shooter, that's an A to B foul. So in this case, it appears that the defender gets into the middle of the arc, and then because of the contact with the shooter, ends up kind of landing in the same spot. But had he not made contact with the shooter, probably would have landed on the arc or pretty close to it. So to me, this is an A to B foul and is properly called by the lead. But don't get fooled on plays with contact where the defender gets to their position, rises vertically, comes back down in the same spot. Even if there's contact there, that's incidental in nature and is a legal block. In this case, it appears that the defender jumps from A to B, makes contact with the shooter, and is properly called for a foul. So good job by the lead picking this up. Just keep in mind their positioning on the floor and then where they end up relative to the shooter at the conclusion of the play. And that will tell you whether or not that they moved into the shooter versus the shooter entering the defensive player's legally obtained space. On this one, I want to talk about positioning primarily. Um, Judgment pieces just a little bit, but mainly positioning. So in this case, we're going to have a shooting foul that's called by the trail. And we give 3 shots, which is correct. But remember, we need to be at the 28-foot mark. We're too high here. We eventually adjust down, but I still think we're out of position here. And we get this foul, which is great and correct in my estimation. But I think if we would have been lower, we would have been in a much better position to see this contact for sure. So let's get to the 28-foot mark, and then we probably can even work even lower in this case, and then we would be in perfect position to see if contact is truly made, because I think in this case, we're looking through the right shoulder of number 23, and we don't for sure see the contact on the left arm. So definitely a foul, but I think we kind of guessed a little bit, got lucky, um, and picked this up. And I think it would have been a lot easier on ourselves had we been at the 28-foot mark and even lower to see space. And then we could have picked this up. So good job of picking up the foul. Good job of getting 3 shots, because we need to pick up the feet. We need to pick up contact up high. There's a lot to process here. And I think our positioning is really going to help us to get these plays accurate more often than not, because these wrist or elbow taps on jump shots are just really difficult. And the best way to get these correct, the highest percentage of time, is to be in good position. So keep that in mind as we evaluate plays like this one. Okay, in this last play, again, positioning. Let's get to the 28-foot mark as trails, because I think we need to help on number 5. Are we riding the offensive player? Is there any kind of illegal contact there? Um, I think 5 is okay, but right at the end there is contact between number 5 and the dribbler into that defender, and we need to be in better position to decide if that is enough for a foul. I don't think that it is, but we need to be in better position to help on that, because that needs to come from trail on whether the contact from number 5 is enough for a foul. Doesn't look like 5, even with the contact, displaces the dribbler. So that's why I would say a no call is appropriate, but we need to be in better position to see that. And then finally, again, as the leads, we need to pick up the um, defender that is trying to take a charge. And remember, if they can get 2 feet on the floor facing their opponent, um, we can give them that offensive foul. Now this one is pretty tight. If we have our legs really wide, he hasn't established legal guarding position, hasn't established yet, and then maybe he does right there. I would say that that's good enough. That we would give them an offensive foul. Again, really tight, but pick up the defender, see if they establish it, and then if they establish legal guarding position, they can maintain it legally by moving backwards, rising vertically, moving obliquely. In this case, I think he starts out too wide, then brings his feet in, and takes the hit in the torso. So I think this is enough for an offensive foul. Again, really tight, but just make sure we're in the right position to view this, and then let's pick up defenders and whether or not they establish legal guarding position prior to contact. Okay, that will do it for training tape number 7. Again, if you're working a state tournament assignment, these are required viewing. We need to have them done um, in the next couple weeks. So March 1st, make sure we get on there and get that done. All other officials, it's optional either on Arbiter or on YouTube, but state tournament officials need to watch this on Arbiter. And just mechanics, primary coverage areas, block charge, restricted area, flopping, um, all pieces that we need to review as we move into the last few weeks of the regular season and into the postseason. So um, appreciate your efforts. Keep up the good work. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week.